In Mint, it's possible to define scheduling settings that will affect all events scheduled in the system. This allows you to define some overarching rules outside of individual products and projects. You can find these settings by going to System Options in our desktop application and clicking Scheduling Settings. First, under the General Scheduling Settings is the Event Cancellation Cost per Day property. When scheduling a project, you may require a resource which is already assigned to a different event. For these cases, you can configure Mint to cancel the conflicting events automatically. The event cancellation cost setting defines the amount of money that is added to a resource's cost per day when the system needs to cancel an event in order to schedule that resource. The system will only cancel an event that exceeds this cost when assigning resources automatically. Minimum hours between travel duties defines the minimum spare time window between two events in locations other than a resource's home without travel time. For example, let's assume we have a resource that lives in Munich that is assigned to an event in Prague and then an event in Barcelona. Let's also define 20 as the minimum hours. The spare time window of a resource between events in Prague and Barcelona is 17 hours without travel time. According to the value of minimum hours between travel duties, 17 hours are sufficient for a resource to travel back home. The Timeout of Breakpoints defines the number of minutes after which resources will be assigned automatically to a slot group, for which a breakpoint is configured. Lastly, you have the option to define a first and second priority default scheduling criteria at the slot group level for all projects in the system. You can choose from the following. Less fragmented, which is where the system assigns the same resources to project events whenever possible. If you select balanced, the system assigns resources in a way that the work amount is equally distributed among all resources. This option allows balancing workload hours of slot group assignees. Cost-based tells the system to select resources based on their cost. Resource cost per hour, travel cost, continuity break cost, and, optionally, removable event cost. You can also base your scheduling criteria on a property of type integer, float, date, or text. For example, if your project presupposes allocating many resources, you can configure project scheduling in a way that the rooms with the largest capacity are selected. To do this, for the necessary slot group that contains training rooms, select the capacity property, and then set pick value to maximum. Lastly, we have the requirement alternative option. Here, the system assigns resources based on the hierarchy of alternatives when a single requirement is set as eligibility for slot groups of that type. For example, let's say you prefer to schedule internal instructors before freelancers. The requirement assigned to the instructor slot group would have two alternatives. The first alternative, first in the hierarchy, could have a specific organization for internal instructors defined. The second alternative to fulfill the requirement could have a third-party organization defined. Since the alternative for internal instructors comes first in the eligibility requirement, the system will assign from that organization first. For more information, visit your Mint manual.